Welcome back to the verse. We trust our eyes, our memories, our certainty, but reality is rarely as solid as it appears. A story told at an open window, a warning carried through the fog, a pattern hidden inside a wall, a dream that reaches beyond the stars. In this collection, The Uncanny and the Unknown, we explore the fragile boundary between what is real and what merely feels real. 4 stories. 1 question. Can we trust what we perceive? Step closer. The shadows are gathering, and reality is beginning to bend. Sometimes the impossible enters our lives, not through ghosts, but through stories, a single conversation, a single invention, a single open window. Episode 5, The Open Window.
Sometimes it isn't what you hear that unsettles you, it's what doesn't move.
Welcome back to the verse. We begin a new cycle, the uncanny and the unknown. Not what is seen, but what is believed. In this house, the danger isn't the dark, it's the story you're willing to accept.
Frampton Nuttall had come here to escape his nerves, but the house wasn't empty. He had come to this quiet country seeking a cure for his strained condition, but as he sat in the formal parlor, he found only a silence that felt expectant. The girl watched him. Her gaze was steady, unblinking. She spoke of a window and a tragedy that had frozen the very air in the room. 3 years ago, to a day, she spoke of the aunt's husband and the brothers lost to the treacherous bog. Their bodies never recovered. A heavy, dreadful silence. The window stood wide, an open mouth, waiting for the dead to return. The girl seemed to listen for footsteps that would never come. Frampton felt the chill. His eyes strayed constantly to the glass. His heart hammered a frantic rhythm against his ribs. And then, in the deepening twilight, shadows began to move. 3 figures walking across the lawn. Indistinct, ghostly, real. Panic took hold. He grabbed wildly at his stick, a headlong, desperate retreat into the dark. But as the men stepped into the room, safe and very much alive, Vera simply watched him go. She turned back to the window with a faint, wicked smile. Romance, at short notice, was her specialty.
A masterstroke of deception. Vera reminds us that the uncanny often has a very human face. We call it romance at short notice, but it is truly the power of the narrative. Frampton Nuttall didn't flee from ghosts. He fled from a story he wasn't prepared to survive. As we journey through this set, ask yourself, how much of your own fear is real, and how much is simply a window left open to the wrong story? Sleep well, if the latch is truly locked. But what happens when the warning is real? A lonely railway cutting, a figure in the distance, a voice that arrives before disaster. Episode 6, The Signal Man.
Hello, below there, the cry did not echo. It fell as if the darkness was listening.
Welcome back to the verse. We continue our cycle, the uncanny and the unknown. Today, we descend into the damp, cold dread of the railway cutting. A man haunted, not by what he sees, but by what he is told to see. Listen closely. In the verse, the tracks lead to more than a destination.
Hello, below there. It was a strange cry thrown down into the deep, black trench of the railway. The cutting was extremely deep and unusually precipitous. It was made through a clammy stone that became oozier and wetter as I went down. He stood by the red light, a lonely figure, sallow, vigilant. His post was a place of unnatural shadows. There was a frozen, fixed quality to his face, as if he were expecting something, not a train, something else. The box was a small room, cramped. The fire in the stove burned low, smoldering in the corners. The dampness seemed to crawl. We sat in a silence, broken only by the ticking of the clock and the occasional sharp click of the telegraph. Suddenly, he looked at the bell. It had not rung. I am certain of it. Yet his eyes followed a motion that wasn't there. He saw it vibrate. He heard its silver tongue summoning him. But the bell was still dead. "I have seen it again," he whispered. His hand caught my sleeve, a desperate grip, soot-stained fingers digging into the wool. His touch was cold, like the stone walls outside. "At the mouth of the tunnel," he said, with its left arm across its face and the other arm waving in a terrible, silent warning. I looked out into the cutting. The mist was a thick, gray shroud. The red light burned like a solitary eye, watching, waiting. Then, from the mouth of the tunnel, a low hum, a vibration in the very earth beneath our feet. It came, the iron monster, a hulking mass of shadow and steam, breaking through the fog. The headlight was a blinding, piercing, white glare. It did not slow, it did not scream. It simply passed, an unstoppable force, plunging back into the dark. The next morning, the sun did not reach the bottom of the cutting. The air was heavy. The men were gathered on the tracks, a small group, huddled, silent. They stood around a shape covered by a dark tarp. The mist curled around their boots like white smoke. No one spoke. The work was done. The signal box stands empty now. The levers are cold. The fire is out. But sometimes, when the wind is right, a red glow bleeds across the floor and a phantom phantom bell begins to ring below there. How low?
A tragic intersection. The signal man lived in a world of rigid schedules and absolute iron, yet he was undone by the shift and mist of the inexplicable. We call it a premonition, but perhaps it was merely the verse, reclaiming a soul that spent too much time in the shadows. As you walk back into the light, ask yourself, is that ringing in your ears a trick of the wind, or is it a summons you aren't prepared to answer? Sleep well, if the tracks are truly clear. Reality begins to fracture, not around us, but within us. Patterns become pathways, walls become prisons, and certainty slowly disappears. Episode 7. The Yellow Wallpaper.
John says I am getting well. He says it is only a nervous fancy. But I know there is something behind that paper. And tonight, I am going to let her out.
Welcome back to the verse. We continue our cycle, the uncanny and the unknown. In our last tale, we saw how a warning can ring in the mind long before it rings on the wall. Today, we peel back the layers. Charlotte Perkins Gilman brings us a story of a mind unraveling, a woman confined by love and crushed by a pattern that refuses to stay on the wall. Listen closely. Some cages are made of paper. Step into the verse.
It is a colonial mansion, a hereditary estate. John says it is a place of peace, a place to rest, but it stands quite alone, far back from the road. The gardens are overgrown, the box hedges thick and unkempt. There is something strange about the air here, as if the house itself is holding its breath. The room is big, airy, but the windows are barred, as if for a child. The floor is gouged, splintered. John says it is for my own good, but I am confined within these 4 walls, and the walls are covered in a paper I should hate to live with for long. The color is repellent, almost revolting, a smoldering, unclean yellow. It is a dull yet lurid orange in some places, a sickly sulfur tint in others. The pattern is torturing. It slaps me in the face, it knocks me down, and tramples upon me. It is like a bad dream, made visible. At night, everything changes. By candlelight, by twilight, but most of all, in moonlight. The pattern becomes bars. The outside pattern moves, and the woman behind it becomes as plain as can be. She is trapped, and I am the only one who sees her. I see her in that stuck upper part of the pattern. She is quite quiet. I think it is the pattern that keeps her so still. She is trying to climb through. She shakes the bars, night after night. But the pattern is strong. It strangles her. I must not let John know. He is so wise. He loves me so. But I am writing here, in the silence, because the wallpaper is beginning to know my thoughts. It follows me. It watches me, as I watch it. There is a mark on this wall, low down, near the floor. a streak that runs round the room. It goes behind every piece of furniture, except the bed. A long, straight, slimy smooch, as if something has been crawling round and round and round. The smell, it is not bad at first, but now, it is the most enduring odor I ever met. It creeps all over the house. I find it hovering in the dining room, skulking in the parlor. It is a yellow smell, and it is everywhere. I don't sleep much now. I watch the developments in that wallpaper. The front pattern does move, and no wonder. The woman behind shakes it. She is getting out, and I am getting out with her. I've got out at last, in spite of you and Jane. I've pulled off most of the paper, so you can't put me back. The pattern is torn. The prison is open. I have peeled the world away. It is so pleasant to be out in this great room, to creep around as I please. I don't want to go outside. I want to stay here, where I can creep over that long smooch on the wall, round and round and round. Now, why should that man have fainted? But he did, right across my path by the wall, so that I had to creep over him every time, smoothly, over the body and back into the pattern.
A tragic descent. The woman did not find freedom. She only found a different kind of cage, one made of shadow and silence. We call it madness, but perhaps it was merely the verse, reclaiming a soul that spent too much time looking behind the lines. As you walk back into the light, ask yourself, what is the pattern of your own life, and what is trying to crawl out of it? Sleep well, if the walls are truly still. And beyond uncertainty, beyond fear, beyond despair, a dream reveals another possibility, a vision of paradise, and the cost of losing it. Episode 8, The Dream of a Ridiculous Man.
I am a ridiculous man. They call me a madman now. That would be a promotion if it weren't for the fact that I remain as ridiculous to them as ever. But I have seen the truth. I have seen the world before we broke it, and now I can never go back.
Welcome back to the verse. Today we conclude our cycle, the uncanny and the unknown. In our last journey, we walked the line where a fragile mind unravels in the silence of a room. Today, we sink into the absolute bottom of a human soul. Fyodor Dostoevsky brings us the dark confession of a man who has decided that nothing matters, a man sitting in a cold, damp corner of St. Petersburg with a heavy iron revolver waiting on the desk. But the cosmos does not permit an ending so simple. Before the bullet can find its mark, a dream will catch him and carry him across the stars, to a world before the break, to the cradle of our innocence, right before the fall. Listen closely. Some sins are born of a single poisoned whisper. Step into the verse.
Ridiculous man. They call me that now. It would be an insult, I suppose, if I still believed that anything in this leaden world mattered. It was a gloomy evening. The rain was cold. I looked up at the sky, and there, between the ragged clouds, was a tiny star. I looked at it, and I knew that tonight I would kill myself. I sat in my room. It is a poor, narrow place, a vertical coffin of shadows. My candle flickered, struggling against the dampness that clings to the walls like a shroud. The revolver lay before me, cold, logical. I had no grievances, no sorrows, only the crushing weight of the unknown, the realization that the world and I were separate, and soon both would be nothing. But I fell asleep, and in that sleep, the walls of my narrow room did not just hold me, they dissolved. I was being carried, not by hands, but by the dark, velvet breath of the universe. I flew through spaces I cannot name, past stars that sang in a language of pure light. And then I saw it, another earth, an earth that had not been touched by our grief. I landed in a forest of emerald and gold, where the very air felt holy. They came to me, the people of this world. Their faces were not like ours. There was no suspicion, no irony. Their eyes were clear pools of love, a clarity I had never known existed. I lived among them. I saw a world where truth was not a weapon, but the sun they breathed. I felt a joy so sharp it was a kind of pain. I was no longer ridiculous. I was home. And then I ruined them. It began as a joke, a tiny seed of falsehood. I taught them to lie, and once they learned to lie, they grew to love the lie. The emerald faded to gray. They began to build walls. They invented justice because they had lost love. They invented shame to cover their hearts. I saw my paradise turn into the St. Petersburg I had fled. I begged them to kill me. I told them it was my fault, but they only laughed. To them, I was just a ridiculous man with a foolish dream. I woke. The morning sun was a blade of gold across my table. The revolver was still there, but it looked small, powerless. I pushed the iron aside. I realized then that to see the truth is not to be mad. The pattern is not a trap. The darkness is not a dead end. There is a light, and I have seen it. I go out now into the streets. They still laugh at me, but I don't care, for I have seen the truth, and I know that even in this gray world, the verse is full of light.
A transcendent return. The ridiculous man did not find an ending. He only found a terrifying new beginning, a truth made of light and cosmic sorrow. We call him a madman now. We laugh at his preaching, but perhaps it is merely the verse, showing us a soul that finally looked past the walls we build between us. He woke to a world that will never believe him, yet he will preach the dream until his lungs fail. As you walk back into your own reality, ask yourself, is this world truly awake, or are we all just sleepwalking through the ruins of a paradise we forgot? Sleep well, if the world you see tomorrow is the only one that is real. The stories have been told, but questions remain. Can reality be trusted? Can perception deceive? Can truth survive imagination? This concludes our second thematic journey, the uncanny and the unknown. Yet beyond every answer, another mystery waits. The shadows recede, the stars remain, and the verse continues.